coach interview for you all coming in hot. It's Earl Grant from the College of Charleston, who was fortunate enough, we were fortunate enough, to have Coach Grant join us. I'd like to think he was fortunate enough to join the conversation, but hopefully he enjoyed chatting with us as much as we enjoyed chatting with him. Really had a good time speaking with him, speaking about his program. Brad, the beat rolls on with these coach interviews.
Yeah, I mean, I think the best part of these interviews is, every coach has a unique story. Whether it be something when he was taking over the program, something earlier in his career. So that's always my favorite part of these conversations is, you could get maybe a Charleston fan on to tell you about Earl Grant's career, but only Earl Grant could tell you, the specific, stories relating to his life and his career.
Yeah, I mean, we've had some really fun stories, whether it was last year with Kyle Keller, who, had gotten hurt as a baseball player and decided to go out and coach basketball and drive the bus and do the laundry and, work his way all the way from that to working for Bill Self and, Eddie Sutton, some of the biggest names in the sport. We loved his story about, what was it, Eric Vila, who he was going to have to recruit after the game. That was crazy. When they were down 11 and they came back and won it. In the NCAA tournament. Dave Paulson was a JV soccer coach while at Williams. We spoke to Richie McKay, and he talked about taking a step back and being an assistant, which I thought was really fascinating. And then hopefully some good nuggets here with Earl Grant that you'll enjoy as well. He took over that program so late. He took over in September and really had to build a roster from scratch, which I thought was a really interesting thing to discuss with him that you'll hear in a little bit. But College of Charleston, a program that's been really good for a really long time. Really since it became D1, they've been consistent power, consistently contending for NCAA tournament bids. They made it last in the 2017-2018 season. That was the Joe Chealy, Jarrell Brantley, Grant Riller team. Last year they come up short, but this year it should be right back in the mix with Grant Riller on the show.
Yeah, I mean, having a guy like Jarrell Brantley and Joe Chealy go to the NBA in back-to-back years, both getting two-way contracts. Chealy with Charlotte, and Brantley now with Utah after getting drafted in the late second round. I mean, that's some great notoriety for the program. It shows how good some of these teams that Earl Grant's had the last 2 years really were, right, having NBA players on their team, and now Riller is like the star holdover here. He averaged 22 a game, 4 assists last year. Brantley averaged 19, and then the next highest scorer was Brevin Galloway at 8 points a game. So while a lot of the rotation's back, right, they're only losing like 2 or 3 rotation guys. Losing a guy like Brantley is going to be huge, but they have a lot of experienced guys who could step into a big next to Riller.
Yeah, they've got a lot of guys coming back. They just really need that second and third scorers. Galloway was the third scorer last year. Can he step up and be the second scorer? Can a guy like Jalen Richard step up? They've got a really good freshman class, including Brendan Tucker, who had some high major offers. I don't know if Northwestern was looking at him. But looking at Grant in particular, I mean, he's a guy who's 42 years old, has made an NCAA tournament, won 24-plus games in 3 consecutive seasons. He's a guy that, I mean, he's not going to look ahead, certainly, but on his trajectory will be a high major coach someday if he wants to be. He's from Charleston. He loves the town. He loves the program. But I think, if he wants to be at that level, he will have those opportunities because he has a bright future. He's worked under some really good names in Greg Marshall and Brad Brownell. But he's definitely a bright young coach in this business. 5 years as a head coach, but still relatively green in the business at 42. So excited that we could have him on the show. And look forward to the interview. So we hope you enjoy this interview right now with College of Charleston head men's basketball coach Earl Grant.
And we're excited to be joined today by College of Charleston head coach Earl Grant. Coach Grant has won over 60% of his games over his first 5 seasons on the job and has averaged 25 wins per season over the past 3 years, including an NCAA tournament berth in the 2017-18 season. Coach, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, guys.
And Coach, my first question, you spent a significant amount of time working under Greg Marshall at Winthrop and Wichita State, and then at Brad Brownell, 2 guys I would perceive as pretty different guys. As a young coach, what did you learn from guys who are, maybe have different personalities, different systems, et cetera, that you've applied to your time at Charleston?
I mean, well, the number one thing I learned, in those 10 years of working for both of those guys was just how important it was to defend and take care of the ball. I mean, that was a big deal, for 10 years, working with those two, just how important it was to defend and take care of the ball. I mean, simple, basic basketball to give you a chance to win. But I also learned that you can win in different ways. Certainly Brad Burnell being a background of Indiana basketball. I think his college coach was Royce Waltman, who coached under Bobby Knight at Indiana. So it was all about motion, motion offense, ball movement, player movement, and reading the defense and finding highly skilled guys who can really pass, dribble, and shoot. And so that was his kind of philosophy. And then with Greg Marshall, working under, Kevin Eastman at Newberry and John Kress at the College of Charleston. Well, not Newberry, Belmont Abbey. John Kress at the College of Charleston. It was set plays. Get it to the hot hand, find a mismatch and try to milk it, or, take advantage of a foul situation, maybe try to get the third foul. So if the set plays were designed to attack certain things, and he was more into, athleticism and toughness, finding guys that were quick twitch, offensive rebound at 12 feet. So, changing defenses, playing some zone, playing some man, and Brad was man-to-man in motion. So I learned that you can win in different styles. And so I guess just understanding that you can win different ways, more than one way to skin a cat, probably is the biggest thing that I learned from them. But the core of it was, if you just defend and rebound and don't turn the ball over, you got a chance to win.
And you finally get your first head coaching job at such a great program in College of Charleston, one that had so much success and very few down years since moving to D1. Did that increase the pressure to get things rolling quick, because the program you're inheriting is such a well-renowned program, a consistent winner?
Not really. Not really. I didn't really feel that pressure right away, because the way I got the job, it was kind of it was a God thing. I bought a house in Clemson. I rented for 3 years in Clemson. I rented a house. And in my fourth year, I bought a house. I said, hey, I'm excited about Clemson. I'm going to buy this house in June. Brad had just signed a 6-year contract extension, and everything was going good. So I bought the house in June. And in July, I went out and did some recruiting. And then in August, I was walking my sons to their elementary school, which is a dream for a dad, walk your kids to school from home. And that was in August. And then September, the job came open at the College of Charleston. So I really wasn't looking to move. I really wasn't trying to get a job at that point. So the way it worked out, I knew it was a God thing. And when I got here, I had great peace that we were going to find a way to, turn the program into a winner, because it was a winning program. I grew up here in North Charleston, 20 minutes away from campus. I watched John Kress programs for multiple years, watched what other coaches did after him, the success that they had. So I knew the program was built to win. We just had to do a good job of recruiting the right type of student athletes and staying true to our blueprint of what we learned, what I learned from my mentors. And I felt real confident that we would find success. And so never really felt that pressure to try to turn it around quickly. Just wanted to stay true to the process.
And how difficult was it taking over a program so late in the process? We talk about, most of the coaching movement happens in March and April. You can go out, you can recruit in the late period. You'll get transfers and fill up the roster. How difficult was it for you to take over a program so late in the game? And not just, from a recruiting perspective, but also you didn't have the summer to really implement what you want to do with the returning guys.
I mean, it was difficult. I didn't think it was, when I got the job, I didn't think it was difficult. I was like, I just took it. I said, hey, I'm going to do a good job. I know there'll be some tough times. That's how I felt when I got it. But then when I look back on it, it was really difficult because right now it's August the 5th. And I think about all that we've been able to get done this spring and summer leading into a year. And when I got the job 5 years ago in September, I missed that. I missed that time. I mean, I didn't get that April. I didn't get that May, June, July, August. I kind of came in September. So when I look back on it, I realized how much time was lost in trying to, develop some core values and talk about how we're going to, act off the court, in the classroom, on the court, what our standards were, how we wanted to compete, maybe implementing a few things offensively and getting a head start in the season. Looking back and not having that time is when I really, sometimes I say, how do we do that? How do we take that job in September? And then also not having a chance, most guys get a job in April, but not having a chance just to evaluate your roster, figure out who's on the bus and who need to get off the bus, who want to continue to be a part of the new staff and program, the direction the program was going, being able to recruit maybe a couple guys, maybe take a fifth-year transfer. Like I didn't have a chance to prepare for that first season, so it was tough.
You've recruited in your time as a coach, several guys who've made it to the NBA, whether it be guys like KJ McDaniels and Jerron Blossom game at Clemson, and now Charleston with Joe Chealy and Jarrell Brantley and possibly Grant Riller coming up soon. How much does having that type of success, getting players to the pros, help in selling recruits on coming to a mid-major program?
I mean, it's still kind of, you still got the challenge in recruiting, because I think what happens is the more success you have, or having guys make it to the NBA, or winning a lot of games, or, whatever that may be, the more success you have, obviously your roster is probably, you probably got a good roster. And so now you're trying to sell kids to come be a part of a program that has success. And so, you're not selling the opportunity to come in and maybe start. And then you're trying to get a higher level player. So now the guys you're recruiting, they're getting some BCS looks, so it just, I guess as you continue to climb the hill as building the program, the challenge just continues to be bigger and harder. It doesn't get easier because you're trying to climb higher. So you're trying to get a better player, and they're getting recruited harder. And so it's just a ongoing challenge, but it's one that we embrace. And I do think guys are recognizing now that you don't have to be BCS to play basketball after college, or you can do it at this level. We had Jarrell Brantley and Justin Wright Foreman from Hofstra, both, made it this year in the NBA. So I think, you can at least tell a kid, hey, we had two guys, and then obviously Davante Keikoff. So we had three guys. You can at least tell a kid, hey, you can make it to the NBA from here.
Is that one of the sells? I mean, 2 summers ago, you had Joe Chealy entering the summer, about to be a fifth-year guy. This summer, Grant Riller about to be a fifth-year guy. In this day and age, I'm sure their phones are blowing up. Grad transfer for mania as it's come to. They could have played at any level in the country. Did you have to re-recruit those guys? Did you have to sell them? Oh, you can make the pros from here.
Not really. I mean, I had 3 years in a row where guys were eligible to be fifth-year guys, whether it be Joe Chealy, Nick Harris, 6'10" center, and then Grant Riller. Never really got into the conversation of, hey, fifth year, do you want to leave? Never really got into that. Just, obviously, I know some coaches or some programs, you hear people say, hey, look, don't let a kid redshirt, or, don't let them stay in summer school, slow down their progress towards degree. But for me, that was really the only promise I made to the parents, is that, hey, I'm going to make sure your son get a degree. So for me, I'm trying to get them a degree. If they get a degree and they can leave, and they decide to leave, hey, man, congratulations, more power to you. But so we don't try to hold them back. Getting a degree is the biggest thing for me. That's a huge accomplishment for some of these kids. Some of them are first generation, graduates. So that's my focus: get a degree, and then if we decide he's gonna leave, then he leaves. But we were very fortunate where 3 consecutive years where we've had guys that can be 5th-year transfers. That conversation never really took place because the guy was more ready to try to see if he can finish what he started at the College of Charleston. And that's been the theme for all of those guys. And I'm sure maybe some things went through their heads, probably got a few texts, a few calls, but we never had the conversation.
And in talking about Grant earlier, one of the guys I think is perhaps the best mid-major player, best mid-major point guard in the country. He's capable of scoring 30 points on every given night, but he's also your point guard at many times on the floor. What's the balance in freeing him up just to get buckets and making sure he gets other guys involved as well?
Well, I mean, I talked to him about that certainly we don't want to reinvent the wheel. So he's been successful in the way he's been playing in our system. So he plays him 2. And then we got a package where he plays him 1. And we'll do the same thing this year. It won't be that much difference. The only difference will be he'll probably play more point this year than he's ever played in his career because Marquise Pointer graduated. He was a 25-minute-a-game point guard. And so because of that, I think there would be a reason for him to play more point. Him and Zep Jasper sharing that responsibility. But I got a couple young scoring guards or wings that have really made some jumps in their progress and their development. So I feel like I'm gonna have to get those guys out there on the floor. So Grant will have to play more point to get them wings out on the floor.
And talk about the development of those guards and those wings, guys like Brevin Galloway. What can you expect from those guys to provide this season? Galloway especially had to make a big jump from freshman to sophomore year. Is a similar jump in store sophomore to junior year?
Just trying to get him to continue to be a guy that can really shoot it from 3. I think he's expanded his game where he can do more off the bounce. He's gotten in better shape. So, I just think that he'll continue to evolve. I mean, I don't know how much, but I think he'll continue to evolve. I think not only will he be able to shoot it, but we'll be able to let him create some off the ball screens and off the dribble. And then Jalen Richard, same thing, was a freshman. He's a young player. I mean, I think he may have just turned 18 and he's going to be a sophomore. Some of the kids I'm recruiting are 18 and they're still in high school, but I think he really had a great spring and summer, and he's gotten bigger and stronger. He's 6'4", one of the better athletes in our program, and developed his shooting a lot this spring and summer. So I'm excited about him. Certainly, Quan McClooney didn't play last year. He kind of got hurt early and just didn't get a chance to play. We had too many guards, but he's 6'5", lefty that has a chance. And then we signed 2 freshman wings, that are talented. So that's the reason I think we'll have to play Grant more at the 1 because we got a few talented guys that maybe need to play some on the wing.
And with that strength in the backcourt, does that kind of lend itself to smaller lineups, especially with Jarrell Brantley and Nick Harris graduating? What does the front court look like this season? And could you maybe play some small ball with 4 guards on the floor?
Yeah, we played a lot of small ball in the past, so I'm sure we'll continue to have a package of that. But Jalen McManus is a senior now. He's been a kind of a 6-man his whole career for 3 years. But he played when we went small. We played him and Jarrell together, so he was very productive. Jalen McManus was when we went to those lineups. So now he'll have a chance to, expand his role. He's 6'8", 235 pounds, so he'll have a chance to do more. And then we got a couple 3 big guys. Sam Miller transferred from Dayton, 6'10". He's different from what we've had because he's athletic and skilled. He can shoot. And then Osinachi Smart and Samba Samba and Jai, they both are about 6'8.5", 6'9", 245. So, and they're old. They've been in the program for a couple of years. Just didn't play a lot. but they're talented, they're big and physical. So I think with that experience down around the basket, they can help us. And then, we're waiting on one freshman, figure out what his status will be, 6'8". And then we'll kind of figure out that here in the next week or so and go from there.
And we'll talk a little bit about your incoming class and the guys you have coming in. What's that group look like, and who maybe can contribute right away as a freshman?
Yeah, you got Brendan Tucker is a 6'3" guard, just kind of wired to score, athletic and fast. Really, really talented offensive weapon. And so, this depends on how he continue to develop and which one of the young guys decide they're going to take up most of the minutes. But he's a terrific talent. And he's got a chance to really help the program here, some this year or really in the 4 years of his career. And then D'Angelo Epps is just kind of a classical junkyard dog, maybe 6'5", 215, 220. And so he can play any forward position, 3, 4. Just really athletic, got a knack for the ball, can make shots, drives it. Is very energetic. So, wherever he play, he'll have a chance to impact winning because he just do winning things. And then the other guy is Trayvon Reddish. He's 6'4", about 190, and he's a point guard, pass first point guard. Big, physical, really defends, attacks the paint, good rebounder, great decision maker. Just kind of big and strong, can post some at the point. So he's got a chance to help us as well. So I think all of those guys, are very, very capable of helping us. The last guy, Dontavius King, we won't know until about a week and a half, what his status is. But certainly, I can tell you more about that then. But he's a big physical specimen, 6'8", 6'7", 250. I mean, power forward. So we'll know more about that here in about 10 days.
All right, last question for you, Coach. Pretend all the people listening are prospective recruits. Give us the 1 minute or less recruiting pitch on why they should come to the College of Charleston.
Well, I think the biggest reason you come to the College of Charleston is, it's a family-oriented program. For our players, we try to form a great brotherhood amongst the players in the locker room. It's bigger than basketball, and so I think that's a big part of it, just a family atmosphere that we try to create. And then, we got some of the best fans in college basketball. We've had a great tradition at home in TD Arena on John Crest Court, just getting a lot of fans in there. It's rowdy, student bodies involved. So I think that's a big reason. And then the city of Charleston, whether you going to school or just vacationing, there ain't no dull moment. It's a great city to live. Unbelievable, food and weather and palm trees and a lot of beautiful people. So that's good. And then the CAA, is a up and coming mid-major league where I expect in the next 5 years that we have multiple teams make deep NCAA tournament runs. So I think it's a very capable league for that. So it's a lot of things to be excited about, and to be here in Charleston, and hopefully, people will recognize that and come on and jump on the bus and help us keep climbing this mountain.
Coach, we appreciate your time and joining the show today. Best of luck with the upcoming season.
Thanks, guys.
And once again, we appreciate Coach Grant joining the show today. Had a lot of fun chopping it up with him, talking about his career, his team for the upcoming season. I just had a lot of good answers, a lot of stuff that was interesting to say about his team and some of the guys they have coming in with their recruiting class. To me, really the most interesting part of the conversation was talking about taking over the program in September. When he said, I didn't realize it was hard until I looked back and said, look at how much we got done every summer and how I couldn't do that, how I didn't get a chance to evaluate my roster, how I didn't get a chance to, go out and recruit, grab a grad transfer, et cetera. And they had a rough year one, but I mean, he didn't even get to recruit Peach Jam. He didn't get to recruit, any of the summer circuits So for him to build a really strong class that let them almost double their win total in year 2, and that foundational group, turned into guys that will went on to make an NCAA tournament and contend at the top of the CAA every year. Just incredibly impressive work. I mean, that's the type of situation we're talking about. Cleveland State and what Dennis Gates walked into. Obviously, the roster turnover wasn't quite there for College of Charleston, but he had a lot of work to do to inherit a program that was not in its best shape, and he was able to get it rolling real quick, which is really impressive. Another feather in the cap for Coach Grant.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, with all the interesting situation with Cleveland State and how they only had a dwindling number of players, went from like 6 the next day, that was down to like 2 or 3 guys at one point, I think. At least Gates got to go in there and at least add. I mean, he had a ton of leverage in terms of playing time. He had a very thin pool of players to choose from, but he at least got to get started. I know Coach Grant referred to it as seeing who's going to get on the bus with them. Like see the buy-in. He at least has a head start on what Grant had. I vaguely remembered College of Charleston turning over that late, but it wasn't until the interview that that situation had kind of re-entered my mind. And, just how crazy it was. We saw with Louisville with David Padgett. Now, obviously a higher level program with bigger stakes, but everyone kind of flowered Padgett with praise about it was such a difficult situation that even though he didn't come anywhere close to that roster's expectation with Pitino, people still commended him for doing a good job because of the situation. And Grant was in a similar situation. It wasn't NCAA violation related, but took over a team at a similar time. Just had to inherit the roster, and Grant's roster didn't win a ton the year prior, and he's been able to really turn Charleston around to the point where I think they're probably the unanimous favorite in the conference again this year.
Yeah, and I think also his story about, I was walking my kids to school and had bought a house at Clemson. I was happy. I was content. Is a reminder to the people, who follow this game and listen to this podcast, just the volatility of the business, right? Like, you never know when that job's going to open up. I mean, talking about Dennis Gates again, the parallels there. I mean, he's a guy who was in the mix for a lot of head coaching jobs, but I don't think he ever thought that he would be moving in the middle of July from Tallahassee to Cleveland to take that job, to go on a whim like that. And so just kind of a reminder that it throws everyone's lives into the balance. A kid who is at school has to move, the family has to move. I mean, it is a tough business, but fortunately we have great coaches like Coach Grant throughout it who are trying to lead programs and do it the right way. Kind of looking at his team, I thought one of the more interesting things to look at was he discussed the balance with Grant Riller of letting him score and then also having him run the show, because especially without Marquise Pointer, they need someone to play point guard and run a team, and Zeb Jasper can do some of that, but Riller's a lot more dynamic with the ball, and so especially with guys like Brevin Galloway, guys like Jalen Richard stepping up, Brendan Tucker, the freshman as well. It'll be interesting to see how they balance that out, whether Riller maybe even takes a step back scoring into like the 18, 19 point a game range, but he's a guy who can get 30 anytime he wants.
Absolutely. I mean, that's certainly going to be something to watch, because after averaging 22 points a game as a junior, now having to kind of balance both roles, and I mean he'll have a few opportunities on this schedule to really make an impact nationally. I mean, they're going to the Wooden Legacy, which isn't a great tournament, but it'll have Arizona, Providence. I was higher on Pepperdine earlier, but they're in there as well. Wake Forest is their first game. Central Florida, they're playing at Central Florida in the non-bracketed portion. That's probably a top 150 team. I'm a little higher on Central Florida than you are, Kevin, but they have Oklahoma State coming to the TD Arena and VCU to kind of cap off the non-conference slate in mid-December.
Yeah, and they also have Oklahoma State as well coming to their gym, which is a really cool opportunity for a mid-major to get a home game. So they'll have plenty of opportunities. I don't think they're at large good, so it's not really about that for them, but more just getting the tests. And, I think it's a schedule that sets you up well, playing against a lot of good mid-majors like Marshall, like Georgia State, potentially Long Beach State out of that tournament is consistently good. VCU and Richmond as well. I think, playing that type of schedule lends itself really well to competing in the CAA. And looking at the CAA, I mean, he talked about the NBA talent the league lost with Devontae Caycock, with Justin Wright Foreman, with Brantley as well. So while College of Charleston loses guys, I mean, Northeastern's going to lose Vasa Pushitsa, who is really good. I think they'll be right in the mix again, still with Jordan Rowland and Bolden Brace. Donald Gresham grad transferring is a big loss there because he could have helped out. But they still have Tomas Murphy. I think they'll be in the mix. Delaware lost some pieces. William and Mary lost everybody. They were gutted. Hofstra, I think, will still be in the mix there. I mean, but the league does, open itself up for College of Charleston, where I think they should be the favorite, just if nothing else, because they have Grant Riller, right? I mean, he's so good. He's dynamic with the ball. He can get downhill, finish at the rim, create his own shot, create for others. I think he has to be seen as the best player in the league, one of the better, mid-major players in the country.
I mean, William Mary has Nathan Knight, but they lose their coach. They lose Justin Pierce. They lose Chase Audich. Someone else too, right?
Yeah, they lost LJ Owens to UMBC, who is like a good young guard, and Matt Milan to UCF.
Yep. So what a missed opportunity there, to lose all those guys in a league that is losing NBA talent and is pretty wide open. But another interesting thing that Coach Grant had mentioned that even after producing pros and in NBA pros at that, at the mid-major level, it still seems like playing time is going to be the number one factor in influencing a highly ranked recruit. So it's because like you look at, all right, College of Charleston put two guys into two-way contracts, but so did Xavier, and Xavier, you're going to play on national TV in front of more fans, better conference. So it's still a challenge for them even when producing pros, but certainly can't hurt.
Yeah, I think the thing with that is it just levels the playing field a little bit, because realistically, all the kids you're stealing from high majors aren't like the high majors' priority recruits.
Yeah.
With the exception of like Charles Bassey going to Western Kentucky, or Mitchell Robinson going to Western Kentucky and then not going to Western Kentucky. For the most part, priority recruits of high major programs don't go to mid-major programs. But when you can steal like a Brendan Tucker, who was a guy Northwestern was looking at, maybe they'd take him as guard. They had Ham, they had Boo Boo Booey, they had a couple guys that were kind of in the mix for that kind of lead guard, combo guard spot. Who had Ole Miss, he had Xavier, he had a few other programs who were, they were on him, but he probably wasn't the top priority. When you can convince that kid to sign early and commit early on a visit and not take those high major visits when their first target goes off the board, or not wait until the spring when talent is a little more scarce. I think when you can steal that deal, I think certainly the pro credibility helps there. But the playing time is ultimately a big concern for everybody, because if you're a high level recruit, a guy who can go to Xavier or Ole Miss, I mean, what's the point in sitting at Charleston? You better be playing, because, and we've seen the bounce back model, if nothing else, right? Like if you go to Xavier and you don't play, like you're Keontae Kennedy and you're like a fringe high major recruit, you go to Xavier, you don't play. Well, that's okay, because you'll still have UTEP waiting for you. But if you go to Charleston and you were like a good recruit and you don't play, what do you have waiting for you? Do you have like a Big South school?
Charleston Southern.
There you go.
But I mean that's certainly a consideration, and because these recruits themselves, they probably don't even think that they're not going to play, right? Like a guy like Keontae Kennedy, right? He commits to Xavier. I'm sure he's not thinking like, oh, I'm going to have to sit on the bench for 2 years. He's probably thinking, all right, they're telling me I'm going to have to earn playing time, but I can really shoot it. I'm really good. I did this in high school and in AAU. I'm going to come in and I'm going to impress them in practice and earn some playing time. So it's no, like these Division I players are so good at basketball. There's no way that they are thinking of the mindset, well, like, oh, I'm not going to be good enough. I'm going to have to wait my turn going in. They all are going to have confidence in their abilities to at least earn the time. If if the coach tells them that they don't have playing time guaranteed.
Yeah, I completely agree. One thing I didn't get a chance to ask Coach Grant that I was interested in was the travel in the CAA, where it's a weird league where, it's all schools that somewhat make sense together, but they don't make sense regionally, where there's a lot of flights, and obviously a lot of them are in major markets. So I would imagine from a major league, there's probably some economy flights, but I'd also imagine, are you taking long buses? Are you chartering? Like, what's the deal there? I think that was another interesting thing we didn't get to ask him. So would be interested to know that. But I think there's all sorts of interesting things we can learn from these interviews. Unfortunately, couldn't get that one in just because we only get a few minutes with Coach Grant. But got the stories about taking over a program early. Talked about his freshman class with. I think he has 3 guys he thinks can really contribute right away, and a 4th who could be a guy there. They're waiting on final confirmation with him and trying to figure out whether he'll be eligible or able to play this season. But they're recruiting well. Let me look at their class. Tucker had some high major offers, but their entire class were guys who had other upper level mids all recruiting him. These priority major targets who could rise to the high major level if they wait until the spring. So certainly doing a good job recruiting. Has a star in Riller who I think will play in the NBA. They're in very good shape in the CAA this year and for years to come.
Absolutely, and hopefully we can get 1 or 2 more of these coaches' interviews. Hear some more of these unique stories and perspectives. But I really enjoyed the Coach Grant one. Super unique situation, taking over the program so late. Super relevant team. They were in the tournament. They played Clemson, I think, in the first round. They're always in the mix at the top of the CAA. So super relevant team.
Absolutely. We will try to get you some more coach interviews. We have nothing locked down as of yet. But I will be making the calls, making the texts, making the emails necessary to continue providing you guys the content you're looking for. So we appreciate you listening to this interview with Coach Earl Grant. If you are just listening to the show for the first time, you found the show because we interviewed your favorite school, your rival school's head coach, please subscribe, give us a nice review, give us 5 stars on Apple or Spotify or wherever you listen to. We've had Dave Paulson on the show. We've had Richie McKay on the show. We've also, in the midst of our deep dive series, where we preview some of the top teams in college basketball, or the most interesting teams in college basketball, maybe not the top teams. So very exciting stuff on the show, and more to come. So keep your eyes peeled. We'll have more good shows. We'll have more good content on our websites, our Twitter pages, etc. It's officially international trip season, so that's exciting. Lots of fun stuff as we head down the wire, Brad, would you call it, towards the season?
So today's August 6th, so it might be exactly 3 months, maybe.
Well, it's 11/5 we started out.
But it's
Tuesday.
Day off.
It starts on a Tuesday. So exactly what would it be? 12 weeks from when we're recording?
Perfect.
Exciting
I can
stuff.
make it. I've done better this offseason than in past off seasons.
Yeah,
It's been Pan Am, and we have foreign trip games to catch up on. Yeah, I'll survive.
Right, I've been watching more basketball in the off season than I ever have, so it's been a lot of fun. We've enjoyed it. Hopefully, we'll continue to bring you guys stuff you're enjoying listening to. But for now, we'll sign off on this episode of the CVB Central Podcast. Thanks for listening, everybody.